right, welcome in, everyone. Ripken Show, episode 54, I think is what we decided because we haven't been counting the special shows as episodes. But welcome back in. Happy Monday. Super Bowl. I feel like every Monday after the Super Bowl is just a hangover as it is. I didn't even have anything to drink last night, but I'm exhausted. I'm tired. But we're here to do the show because that's what we do, guys. So let's go around and who's in studio with us tonight. From right to left, Zach is here. Zach, how are we doing?
I think it is just kind of like it's like a mental hangover. Like you understand football's done. Like we had the peak last night of like, we know the Super Bowl champion. And now it's like a wake up and you're like, now what?
It's like, you ever binged on something and then you get to the end and you feel like your life is over?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what it feels like.
I think it should be a national holiday. Monday after the Super Bowl.
It should
get that a national holiday.
They keep talking about it. They just need to do it.
They do.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, isn't it the day that most Americans call in, call in sick or take the day off? Saw a number in the millions, right? And quite frankly, I felt like doing that, especially Ollie this morning. I was telling Brad, Ollie wasn't feeling good this morning. It's my pup. And he let it know early and often. He was yakking it up. But he's good now. I think he was maybe disgusted that the Ravens weren't in the Super Bowl as well. Like, I think that's why the Chiefs won for the third time in, 5 years now is a dynasty. We'll get into the Chiefs 49ers, the game itself. And if you're new to the channel here, Ripken Show, we do it Mondays and Thursdays, and we have some special shows like we did last Saturday. We had Cedric Mullins on. So baseball season's here, guys. We're gonna
He's a good kid.
Very good kid.
Hey, by the way, can you pull your mic down?
Would you like that?
Yes.
Okay.
It is in there. We go.
Is that better? What? That's worse.
No, there you go.
That's not good.
Why is it so springy?
I don't know. I bring it out. Is this better?
That's better.
It's good.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, it blends in with your shirt.
Yeah.
Kind of. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about the Super Bowl Sunday in general, right? Like the game itself. Okay, let's not actually talk about the game specifically, what happened, but the event itself. How are we feeling? Because I kind of thought the first half was pretty boring overall.
It was a clunker.
And then Usher came on, shirt came off, everything.
Yeah.
He rollerbladed.
Bro, no offense.
Yeah.
The Gen Zers were like mad about it.
Yeah.
I was like, the fuck?
I don't get that.
I saw a tweet.
What are you talking about?
When they were doing, I saw a tweet and the guy, someone circled Lil Jon and goes, who is this guy?
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
It was disgusting.
That kid was uncultured, to be honest.
I think
like when I grew up learning all different types of music and appreciated all of it. So it's just weird that and I don't know, Zach, I mean, you're in that kind of sort of in between generation.
I mean, I thought it was a great show.
I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, I didn't think
great.
I think there are just people who it wasn't
love to complain.
Yeah, exactly. I will say though, when the one dancer fell off the pole and they had to cut away from it, that was
I saw the clip. The
guy did they fall off because they were all coming down at the same time. I was trying to figure that out.
Yeah, no, she fell very aggressively and was trying to grab the pole back again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I saw the one guy got flung up in the air. Did you see that?
Yes.
The guy got flown in the
incredible.
air. I thought it was good. I mean, not necessarily Prince's level or my bias, which is Beyonce and Destiny's Child, because I was there. I was a part of that. In the crowd, they gave us little finger lights, and then for the single ladies, you go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Did you
1,
sit up there?
2. Oh yeah. Oh, I was. Oh yeah.
Did you do the dance?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I was all a part of it. Beyonce had the spotlight, but I was secondary.
It was Destiny's Child. Like Beyonce was there, but Destiny's Child was also there. I feel like that always gets overshadowed.
Well, yeah. I'll say who was really there. It was Usher for the most part, right? I mean, he did have Alicia Keys. He did have Ludacris and Lil Jon, and her was on the guitar, rocking out.
Yeah.
But Usher literally was doing it all. I was so in my feels, guys. I don't think people understand how much of an R&B baby I was growing up. Like in that Confessions Part 2.
Confessions, yep.
Burned, You Got It Bad. I was grooving. And I think, were we talking about before? If was created now, everybody, that would be a hit.
That'd be a hit. Still would be a hit.
Yeah, I think it would have insane amount of it would have broken streaming like
those
Spotify.
Like the early 2000 club, like Low by Flo Rida. If those were put out today, everybody would be grooved. Like
take that and rewind it back. Lil Jon got a beat to make your booty go.
So that was the whitest shit I've ever seen.
That is the song. That's literally what he does.
I know, but your delivery and your execution on that was not great.
He was.
Don't try to.
You want to talk
to
to me about?
No, I'm not even going to attempt it because I know that I can't.
Yeah,
it's self-awareness.
I don't give a shit. I'm out there. That's my genre, the generation, and I love it. I embrace it. It's great. And I thought that was a lot of fun. I was really impressed that he was rollerblading too.
Yeah.
No, it was roller skates, and they were all roller skating.
Mm-hmm.
That was incredible. And like sometimes you kind of wonder if somebody is lip syncing through their performance.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt in my mind that he was not.
No, he wasn't.
And he was sweating his ass off. Like it was a great show.
Yeah.
Well, he literally took his shirt off.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, I was looking there. I'm like, Jamie, look away. Like Usher looks good still at like however old he
40.
is.
He's like 41, 42.
He's crushing it.
Yeah.
I will say, underrated moment that's not being talked about enough. Usher was off the screen for, I kid you not, like 23 seconds and came back in a totally different, like not even like, oh, he added a jacket or so. Like everything was
that was
impressive.
producer because you had Lil Jon in the crowd with the was it Turbulence? What song was it?
Shots?
Yes. He did Shots.
Ever heard of it, Kevin?
Yeah. Oh, I can't remember what it was. There was so much going on, but he did Shots, and then that's when Usher changed.
Yep. Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful.
Into the dodgeball uniform.
Yes.
Yeah, and he also, there was a point where he was off for even less time, and he was out of the roller skates and into like tennis shoes. I was like, this had to be just seconds, everything timed out. Like the amount of practice that it takes to know that you have like 4 seconds to get out of those and into that and then over to such insane.
That's the hard hitting questions that I want to know is like, how many times was that practice that you just executed? Because I can't get out of my bed sometimes quick enough and in that amount of time.
Yeah.
And Usher is changing on where everyone's watching him. It was electric. I saw a couple comments here, and I just wanted we appreciate the comments here. Yeah. Love you guys. You're a Be More through and through. Thanks, Ryan, for setting this channel with love. Hey, thank you very much. Thank you. We tried. Brad, no clap.
I'm writing a poll.
Oh, okay.
I'm working, but yes, thank you.
There we go. We appreciate it. And from Steven, love the show. Can't wait for baseball season. Well, Steven, we can't wait either. And Brad, good, or Zach, good for you. Whoop. So the reason why we appreciate that, and we got a lot that's going to be coming up here for the spring, right? And we will dive into baseball season because it's officially now baseball season that the Super Bowl is over. Football is done. It's a sad day, but it's going to be a great day. Spring training's right around the corner here this week. It's starting up. Pitchers and catchers are reporting. But let's actually talk about the game for a second. Now, we talked about how electric Usher was. We didn't talk as much about the commercials, which, again, to be honest, was probably average. There was nothing that really like stuck out besides Arnold Schwarzenegger couldn't say neighbor. And
that was a great one.
The Temu commercials got excessive.
So annoying.
It was 5 or 6
Jesus
throughout. Someone called it the Temu Bowl.
You know why? Because like this isn't. I mean, it was just the roots of Temu, I believe, is of Asian culture, correct?
Yeah.
I just don't think that it translated over into American culture. It was just like not a.
Yeah, I don't know. They bought a lot.
Nobody made connections with that.
Yeah, they bought a lot of spots for. I'm not sure. I mean, I guess we'll find out how well.
That's what is it? Is it Korean? Is it Korean like Amazon?
No,
is that what it is? Like Korean,
Chinese
Chinese Amazon, something like that.
Well, there was a lot of it. And I will say I did like the Dunkin' Donuts with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. That
Nerds commercial at the very beginning.
So like there were some good ones. You know what I missed though? Like they don't make them like they used to. Like the avocados from Mexico commercials used to be absolute chaos.
Yeah.
And I was waiting for it. And it just didn't happen.
My favorite, the Doritos ones were good. The one where it's like you don't slap my mama and don't touch my Doritos or something. That one was good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
that was a good one.
What was the other? The Paramount Plus commercial was by far my favorite one of the whole night.
Oh, Hey Arnold.
Yeah. Jean-Luc Picard grabbing Hey Arnold and tossing him.
Yeah, that was a great one.
Cinema.
Well, so
that was incredible.
So there it was. But how about the game? The game was boring for the first half. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it.
Unless you're a defensive coordinator.
Unless you like good defense, or as Andy Reid said, how about the D? That's a meme around everywhere right now for a lot of different reasons.
Oh, hold on, Brandon Dietz. This was also a good one too. Christopher Walken. Agreed. That was
It
a,
was.
that was
Oh,
a
yeah.
great. That was
Yeah.
a great commercial too.
It was. You know what? So like maybe there were a few more. I guess I just always like the. Yes, yeah. Maybe it's nostalgia, but I thought that back in the day there just was
Oh, agreed.
some absolutely electric commercials. But the game itself, defensive battle, and we kind of felt that if the Chiefs were going to win the game, their defense was going to be a big reason. They played well. The Niners' front seven was dominating the first half of the game. But I don't know about you guys and Brad. We talked about this before coming on. I just felt the more the game went on, the closer this game still was. And even though the Chiefs could do nothing, and Travis Kelce was doing more damage to his head coach than he was to the 49ers in the first half.
How are we feeling about that?
Well, we'll get into that in a second.
All right.
But besides that, you just felt like to me, the Chiefs, this is a game the Chiefs are going to win. It just felt like you can't put them away. You're not putting them away. And all of a sudden, the second half heated up, and it turned out to be one of the most entertaining Super Bowls, especially how it finished up.
Yeah, for me, I don't think I hear what you're saying. It didn't start to become evident to me that the Chiefs were going to win this game until Dre Greenlaw went out.
Because, and tough. Talk about a bad break, by the way. That was terrible. For those
catastrophic.
For those that didn't watch,
Travis Kelce, I think, had 5 yards the whole game, and then he went out, and then that's when Travis Kelce was let loose and went off.
And like that's what like crushes, like that shit hurts for me for him. Like that was a moment he's been waiting for. He's excited, and he's just
he wasn't even doing anything.
For those that didn't see the play, Dre Greenlaw was getting ready to come on the field. He was pumped up, psyched, and he started to make a move, and his Achilles, right, just
coming off the sideline,
just gave out. It was going onto the field.
Yeah, going on the field. Yeah,
it was on after a punt.
Right.
And you hate it for that, but it did change the game with him coming off the field.
100%. If Dre Greenlaw was still out there, I do believe the 49ers would have won that game.
And it could have. It could have been actually Dan Orlovsky was breaking down when they did more motion in the second half. It was confusing some of the coverages for the San Francisco 49ers, especially with Greenlaw out. And they found a way. The muff punt for me with the Chiefs, or the 49ers, that was kind of the turning point where points started to happen more and more.
The special teams, it felt like that was. I mean, the Jake Moody had the extra point blocked when he really didn't have to. He didn't have to kick it that low. That was on him. And then the punt where Ray McLeod did the right thing because it had hit. I don't remember who it was, but it hit one of his teammates. He did what he had to do. He got a lot of flack for that, but it wasn't his fault.
Yeah, it wasn't on him.
But the Chiefs are just the team. We saw it against Baltimore too, where they'll wait around and they'll hang around, and you're not going to capitalize on your opportunities. And then they're going to see a mistake and they're going to take advantage. And that's how they win these games. So the 49ers, I mean, look, they're driving down the field on that first possession. McCaffrey fumbles the ball and it kills a lot. Imagine what happens if the 49ers go up and then McCaffrey, whoever, the 49ers score on that opening possession. We could have seen a much different football game. But 49ers, I mean, it's like we're talking about the Ravens. They beat themselves in some aspects, but I mean, you got to give credit to the Chiefs, too. They did their job.
And how about this? The Chiefs, Zach, it was after the McCaffrey fumble, I even said out loud, I'm like, the Chiefs won the Super Bowl already, like just jokingly. But then Pacheco fumbles in the red zone. And then to open the second half, I'm like, the Chiefs are going to hit him in the mouth. Mahomes throws a pick.
Right.
And then you're sitting there like, what the hell is happening? But you know what? You know what defense made another stop? The Chiefs forced the stop right there. And you know what? Credit to Steve Spagnuolo. Zach, like that dude, he's the first coordinator, I think, offensive or defensive, that have won 4 now, Zach?
Yeah, it's up to 4. And it really was one of those moments just all last night where, you had the Pacheco fumbles in the red zone. Then you also had the Mahomes interception, where there were these moments where you sat there and you're like, the 49ers have to start capitalizing on this. Or it did, Brad, like we talked about before. Once it started to get to that fourth quarter and the 49ers couldn't put the game away, you were like, this is way too close of striking distance for Mahomes. And you just had that feeling that if it was within one score and Mahomes got the football
with 2 minutes left,
it was good. And that, I will say, that field goal at the end by Moody, what was the final one? It was over 50 yards, correct?
Yeah.
There's
2.
He had 2 over 50.
Yeah. So the one that he hit to, I guess, give them the lead with like a minute left.
Yeah.
If he misses that, I mean, it's obviously the ball's on the 50. It's game over. I was actually almost surprised that they sent him out there so quickly, because it was like they threw an incompletion and then they were like, okay, he's going out there. I thought there was going to be some more discussion on what to do because it was if he misses that, it just felt like the game was over. It already did feel like a field goal. The game was over.
There was 2 field goal records that were set.
Yeah,
Moody
like
set the first
5 minutes.
Yeah, and then Bucker sets the very next one, 55, 57 yards. That was
very good tweet by Zach, by the way, Aaron Rodgers.
That was so mind-boggling to me. Like they kept saying 50, and then obviously 55 yards, I guess, hasn't been as regular, before the past like 10 years, because I felt like before it was, if you hit a 50-yarder, that was
a big deal.
Yeah, that was a big deal. Now, if you can't hit from 57 consistently, teams are like, are you a liability for us?
Right. And I think us as Ravens fans and watching Justin Tucker for so many years, we're just so numb to it now. Even some of the 60-plussers that we see from him, right? I think it's such a luxury to have a kicker like that. And I will be a wreck the day Justin Tucker retires. Hopefully not for another 10-plus years. But 50-plus yards now, that's the way the game is going.
Well, and how about Budker hitting that 57-yarder? It was a line drive.
That was off.
That was like his driver. He hit that thing with.
I was sitting there and literally I said out loud, I was like, is that even, because it didn't look, obviously it wasn't blocked, but it hit his foot and I was like,
I think
what was that?
He put it between.
Yeah.
He put it between 2 49ers. So if it had been a little to the left or a little to the right, I think a Niner would have hit it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, because I remember this when the Ravens played in Vegas to open the season up, 2 years ago, 3 years ago now. I remember Carlson drilling a ball from deep, like playing in a dome in Vegas. Like that's ideal, especially in the Super Bowl. The conditions, you know what you got. Everything is. You don't have to worry about the other elements, right? So you felt that you could take out that equation and just got to be, could you control your nerves? And for those kickers in those distances, they drilled them, which was great. And I want to do this context of this to start the game because I had this pulled up for drives. This is the context of the game. Fumble, punt, 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 field goal, fumble, punt, punt. To end the game, that was all in the first half. To end the game, Chiefs touchdown, Niners touchdown, Chiefs field goal, Niners field goal, Chiefs field goal, the knee to end the second half, field goal by the Niners, and Patrick Mahomes scores a touchdown to win the game. But to go to it, I want to point this out. I thought Brock Purdy overall played solidly. I think that he was very commendable. There was nothing that deterred me away from his season at all. I think for me in the big moments, guys, over and over again, Patrick Mahomes, you can say what you want, ball in his hand in the tough moments, 4th and 1, they just execute. That 4th and 1 play that they ran in overtime.
So good.
Like they just said, Patrick, we're going to draw up a great play. You make the read. And Patrick Mahomes, to me, outside of Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes actually scrambles at the most meaningful times I've ever seen outside of Lamar Jackson. Like Patrick, as soon as he recognizes, he goes and his legs in those situations set up their final drive. And then obviously Mecole Hardman that didn't even know they won the Super Bowl. Did you hear that? Did you see that? He's like, yeah, I blacked out.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Yeah. You just caught the game-winning touchdown pass and you didn't know the game was over.
Well, and it's so funny because I think we've talked about it on the show, the clip of him on the Jets and him, with the magician who I think he's been to the Ravens. He goes to a lot of locker rooms and does stuff.
Yeah.
But he said to Mecole Hardman, I don't think it was the exact score, but he said, oh, you're going to play the 49ers in the Super Bowl. And obviously, if you're a Jets fan listening to that in August, you're like, oh, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. But he was right. Mecole Hardman played against the 49ers in the Super Bowl, and he was on the winning side and made two big plays.
Juwan Jennings had a perfect passer rating.
Juwan Jennings is who I felt that's who I felt the worst for when the Chiefs won, because Juwan Jennings would have won Super Bowl.
Did you see what he said after the game?
No.
Someone asked him how bad it hurt, and he said, "Does anybody have a nail around here so this guy can step on it?" About that much.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, the thing was too, he probably would have won Super Bowl MVP.
He would have.
And also, especially, and we might as well just play the play because it was a huge play in overtime. Brock Purdy was looking for Juwan Jennings in that overtime period. He was open, by the way, but the problem was that Chris Jones was wide open going to Brock Purdy in overtime period, right? Am I wrong on that?
Well, it was Ayuk who was open. So what happened, and we can play the play, but what happened was Spagnuolo put everybody up the line, and he sent everyone. And what happens at the top, you can see if we slow it down, L'Jarius Sneed at the top slips on the route, so Ayuk is wide open going to the end zone. But what happens is the right tackle, they chip Karlaftis with the tight end, and the right tackle goes to Karlaftis, leaving Jones practically wide open just to rush Purdy, and Nick Bolton also followed him. So 2 guys would have gotten to him. You can't leave Chris Jones unblocked in the biggest moment of the game here. So obviously with the new overtime rules, 49ers score here, the Chiefs will get the ball back to, again, have the chance to tie it. But
right there at the top of your screen, there is where
he's wide open.
Ayuk's wide open, but even for the guy that he was throwing to, Jennings came free too. So there was a chance Jennings could have caught that and scored as well.
And Kittle's breaking across the middle. If you see up top, Kittle.
Chris Jones wrecked that whole.
Well, it's not even Chris Jones after the game said he was like, I literally they snapped the ball and no one touched him, and he I forget who he told to what analyst, but he was like, I almost thought this is a joke. He was like, what?
I thought it was going to, if I'm not touched like that in a big moment, I thought it was going to be screen, right?
Yeah. He said he was like, they snapped it and no one touched me. And I just kept running at the quarterback thinking there's no way this had just happened. What did they just do?
Well, can we all agree though, Chris Jones, thank God for Chiefs fans and the Chiefs that he ended his holdout and came back. Yeah. I don't think there's a more impactful player on their defensive side of the ball than Chris Jones. And it's not even oh, well, he'll show up. Just like Patrick Mahomes, it felt like in every big game, Chris Jones was there. Whether he was unblocked or not, his presence was constantly felt. And I mean, look, he's the heartbeat of that defense, and he was worth every single penny to that team, and he deserves just as much credit for what's been happening on that defensive side. You know what I found interesting then was Chris Jones' comments after the game when he talked about they just beat the 49ers, right? The team that came out of the NFC, but his comments weren't that the 49ers were the team to beat. Guys, he said something differently, and it was about the time that they came to Baltimore in the AFC Championship game. Well, I don't know if that makes Ravens fans feel better, but obviously the respect from one of the best players in the game of going, we thought we beat the best team in the league, and the Ravens were the best team in the league. And their defense, it's fair to say, guys, we thought that this Chiefs overall team was their weakest in winning a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
But this defensive performance with Spagnuolo just conducting all of it, that's the biggest reason. Their defense making plays, and then Patrick Mahomes doing Patrick Mahomes things, and the Chiefs now have won their 3rd Super Bowl in the last 5 years.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs literally, it's weird to think that Patrick Mahomes wasn't the focal point of them winning a Super Bowl, but in a lot of ways, he wasn't the most. It's weird to say Patrick Mahomes wasn't the most important part to a Super Bowl team, but they knew that with the way that defense was playing, especially in the playoffs, they just had to keep teams close. They knew that as long as they didn't turn this into a shootout, and if they could just sit there and make it a 1-possession game going into the final half of the 4th, they knew Patrick Mahomes is going to go out there and win that game 99 times out of 100. So really for the defense, we talked about guys like Chris Jones, L'Jarius Sneed, Trent McDuffie. They had so many great players out there. And really their job was just, if we can keep these teams to, under 25 points, we're going to win, majority of these games.
Yeah. And by the way, though, Patrick Mahomes did almost have 400 total yards in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. He's the leading rusher.
He had some great rushes.
Yeah. Stud, right? But guys, we know Dynasty and all that. Mm-hmm. It is interesting, though. On the other side, Travis Kelce had a huge second half. We talked about Dre Greenlaw going down, and the Chiefs are taking on that villain role. I appreciate greatness. So for Patrick Mahomes, but I know Brad Kelce's been rubbing you more the wrong way. You're not the only one where it's been rubbing the wrong way on how things have gone.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is if they continue to win, there's not much you can say because they're getting the job done, and a lot of teams aren't.
Yeah, I don't know. I was actually looking to see when some of the other great tight ends retired. Obviously, how old is Gronk? Is he's the same age as Travis Kelce?
Yeah, they are very similar in age.
Yeah.
I think Antonio Gates, by the way, also, how did Antonio Gates not make the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
That was
crazy.
Make it make sense.
Yeah. Should have been a first ballot.
Second greatest, right below Tony Gonzalez, as far as great tight ends are concerned. And it wasn't a first ballot Hall of Famer. What are we even doing? How does that make any sense at all? And why is more people not outraged by it? Was he not a great guy off the field or something? Like what happened?
I know one guy who was outraged by it. That's Sean Merriman. He was not happy about.
Yeah,
that.
it makes no sense. We need to have him back on. So we can
talk about that.
Talk about that because I don't understand.
Yeah,
I don't understand either. Antonio Gates, if he's not in next year, I don't know what to say to people. He is one of the best tight ends statistically across the board. If you watched him eye test, he checked all the boxes, right? Travis Kelce, though, is checking those boxes now. He just broke the receptions record in postseason history. Did I read that right?
Yes.
So Travis Kelce, great second half. He had some big plays, that 20-some yard gain with under 30 seconds to go. Beat Fred Warner on a cross route, set up the field goal to go to overtime. Kelce did his thing in the second half, but a lot of attention obviously was on that bump with Andy Reid. He almost knocked Andy Reid on his ass on that play. But all's forgiven because you won the game. And
I think that would have been a much bigger story if they lose. If they lose, I think that's getting talked about a lot right now. But
yeah, because that's not the first time. It's not the first time Travis Kelce did that to Andy Reid, and Andy Reid, they had words about that whole thing about him throwing his helmet and everything. It was the Raiders, no, the Bills game.
Yeah,
Bills game earlier this season. Kelce flew off the handle, and Andy Reid.
Yeah,
Andy Reid was one that bumped him.
Yeah, that was when. So it seems like those two. I mean,
winning cures everything.
Yeah, I was going to say winning cures everything. But it does feel like when things weren't going well in Kansas City, well, I mean, it was this first half of the Super Bowl. You were doing pretty well for yourself. But, they did seem like those two would definitely get at each other. But that's just sometimes the relationship between players and coaches, as I'm sure you can talk more about, Ryan. Guys just, handle situations differently with each other.
Oh yeah. I mean, tempers are going to rise, but you got to have the stones to bump your coach. But you also have to be really good to do that too, where it's other guys, they do that. But like, who the hell do you think you are? You're done.
Mm-hmm.
But what would have happened had Andy Reid actually fallen to the ground?
They would have had to help him back up. I know that.
Yeah. I feel like it would have been a much bigger deal had he actually fallen to the ground.
If he had fallen to the ground and got hurt, would have been a totally different storyline with it, but he didn't.
Yeah.
And he's a beast. And Andy Reid, one of the best coaches in the NFL. And I know that people look at this and go, well, look at what the Chiefs are doing. And why aren't the Ravens doing? That's where it always goes back to, right? It's why aren't the Ravens doing it? Can we just give Andy Reid credit? All the years in Philadelphia, all the times going to the conference championship, went to the Super Bowl, they didn't win. And everyone labeled Andy Reid as a guy that couldn't win the big game.
Yep.
Right? And then all of a sudden you get Patrick Mahomes, obviously, stud quarterback. The scheme's good. Mahomes elevated. But it just proves to you Andy Reid's one of the best coaches in NFL history.
Yeah.
And the only two coaches now that have won 3 Super Bowls over a span of games and gone back-to-back is Andy Reid and Bill Belichick in the last 2 decades. So we're seeing greatness with that. But look at the other coaches. You want to go around the league for everyone that complains about stuff with the Ravens. I mean, come on. The Ravens are trying to get over the hump, but they're also one of the few teams that have won 2 Super Bowls in the last 20-some years. So I digress with that.
Just wanted to add this too. Patrick Mahomes was interviewed and he was already talking about a 3-peat and they want to get back here. I don't think that happens next year. And look, I may be overreacting. It's overreaction Monday, but the AFC West is going to be a whole different division next season, and it ain't going to be easy for anybody. Jim Harbaugh, Sean Payton versus Andy Reid, and look, the Raiders are no joke either. I think that defense is starting to they were trying to figure some things out last year too. The AFC West could be a tough division, and I don't know if it's going to be that easy for the Chiefs to even make the playoffs next season.
You see, I agree with everything that you said, but I've been burned by the AFC West for the last 3 years where I'm like, they're going to be the best division in football this year. And then it's the Chiefs.
But I wasn't as convinced of that up until, the changes that we saw this season, especially with the Raiders and now with the Chargers actually having a legitimate coach that can, that we know has changed shitty organizations and turned them around 180 degrees over a course of just one season.
I think it's interesting too about there were reports that Denver has to figure out what to do with Russell Wilson. I'm like, what's the chance Russell Wilson actually returns there
It's not.
after everything
That's
that
not
happened? No way. But I think with the Raiders, they needed a coach. And I think Antonio Pierce is the guy. I mean, he's the guy that turned them around. I mean, I'm not a very big Josh McDaniels guy, so I was fine to see that happen. But Pierce galvanized them at the end of the season.
Yeah.
And I know, in talking with Sean and what happened, how they just went out there and whooped the Chargers. And what was it, 63-20 or something?
Yeah.
If they let Antonio Pierce walk out of the building, it would have been. Now the quarterback situation is going to be one that I'm monitoring in the offseason.
I'm still the Chiefs. I am not doubting them at all until the point, but I do think, and I want the Chargers, and I expect the Chargers to be good. I want the AFC West to be competitive more so because it's just good for the game. We know how the AFC North is. Why don't we have that just be more out west? Why don't they just kill each other so we can just feel like it's a little bit better? But the Ravens are going to get a crack at the Chargers next year, the Chiefs next year.
All the AFC West.
And who knows? It could end up being that the first game could be Baltimore going to Kansas City to open up the season. So we'll find out there. Any closing remarks here? Do we just want to move on, or we want to just comment that J.J. Watt's hair was phenomenal?
It was noticed. There was certainly noticed. I guess Super Bowl is where you try out everything. The trick plays come out. We had wide receivers throwing touchdowns, and we had JJ Watt's hair I guess debut a little bit of a debut on Super Bowl.
Yeah, let's take a look at this.
Tweets I've ever seen from somebody. One of the most self-aware tweets from somebody who is at a superstardom level. You ever change up your hair and wonder if anybody will notice? They noticed. Yeah. The entire internet noticed. He had a little bit of this going on whenever he joined us.
He did.
On Wednesday. Not to the max that it was.
We went and told him.
Yeah, he had that's like a sloppy spike. A lot of whites who have a lot of calyx have done this with their hair for a long time. The boy bands obviously had a lot of guys that had this type of hairstyle. There is a ratio, though, of hair down, hair spike. Hair down, hair spike. A lot of people are thinking too much spike, not enough hair down for old guy who sticks his finger in an electric socket, is what they're saying about this guy.
Jeez.
So I want JJ to know you're still handsome, you're still bigger, stronger, and better than all these people that are burying you, but I appreciate the self-awareness out of the JJ Watt.
Yeah, I mean, you let the guy live, okay? His soccer team is one of the worst teams in the whole country of England, okay? He wants to switch up his hairstyle, maybe make him a little happier. Let him do it, okay? And you mentioned at the end, say it to his face. You think he looks like a big dumb dipshit, and you think it's the worst haircut of all time? Say that to his face.
I love it.
I absolutely love it. And we talked about boy bands, and then Brandon, you brought this up. JJ looking like a Backstreet Boy. What's wrong? Bring boy bands back. Make boy bands great again with this. Like, honestly. And JJ Watts, by the way, yeah, you're right. Like, say it to his face. If you're really like, you look stupid. You're going to get your ass
I will say,
whooped.
though, it was so funny because as soon as he came on the television, I was sitting there watching. I was like, JJ Watt looks so different for some reason. And then, I don't know if they zoomed in some, but I was like, his hair's got to be different. Like, I can't be the only one noticing. So I went on Twitter and looked up JJ Watt, and it was trending. It was what is JJ Watt doing with his hair? And then during the Super Bowl, that's when JJ got on his phone and tweeted out, have you ever wondered if anyone notices you changed your hair? They do.
I love it. I mean, I didn't think it looked bad. If people didn't make such a big deal about it, I just wouldn't have noticed or wouldn't have even said much. Be like, oh, yeah. JJ changed it. Sick. Awesome. Good for you. But the internet never sleeps. The internet knows all, guys. Whether it's true or not, they have everything on you. But JJ Watt, love that he's able to reflect on it. That's why a lot of people love JJ Watt, is because he's able to talk about it.
You gotta laugh that off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you debut a hairstyle at the Super Bowl and people start trending on Twitter. You just gotta laugh that off.
So should we try to pull off that look? Zach,
I'm shaving next week, so we can see
everything.
What?
I'm shaving my everything. I'm going no facial hair.
You're not doing the Orlando Bloom thing anymore.
Oh,
what?
Well,
that's the hair. The facial
hair
no,
stuff. Yeah, you
got what the fuck's his name?
Orlando Bloom.
Yeah,
no. On Pirates of the Caribbean, he's got the.
You talking about Jack Sparrow, or are you talking about who Orlando Bloom plays?
Yeah.
What's his it?
Oh man,
I don't know. I haven't seen.
This is bad because I've seen that movie a lot. I actually went to one of the premieres one time at Disney. That was electric.
What the hell is his name? That's gonna drive me crazy.
Well, yes. So
his
on
dad was
Bootstrap Bill.
His
was
dad
his
was Bootstrap Bill.
Yep.
Can someone help us
Well,
out here in the audience?
Yeah,
Okay,
because
well-
I won't be able to sleep if I don't know.
well, regardless, so for Monday's show, we can see how different it is.
You look like you're 12. Is
Yeah.
that what you're saying?
Yeah, I still look like him.
I'm the same way. If I shave my face, I will be a 12-year-old chubby kid with 2 chins.
Will Turner.
That'll be me.
Will Turner.
There it is. Thank you.
I had to look it up. I'm not gonna lie. I was
Because-
sitting there. It
because-
was really making me mad. I had to.
Because then it was for Elizabeth. She said her name is Elizabeth Turner. It's like,
That's right.
you best start believing in ghost stories, Miss Turner. You're
Oh,
in
yeah, yeah.
one. Oh.
So, all right, one final look at Kevin. See, that's the Will Turner look right there. Tell me it isn't. That's the Will Turner facial hair look. There you go.
For Thursday's show, I'll still have it. I'm shaving on Friday.
Also
Oh, it's a
talking about
Friday. Okay.
talking about a short king too, Kevin. Orlando Bloom's a short king. I don't think he's very tall.
Really?
So
I
there's
am
a chance for
short
you.
king.
You are.
Oh.
And Brandon, thank you. Will Turner, thank you for everyone that helped out with that assistance of the name. It was going to drive me nuts.
Oh, this show
All right.
sucks.
It does. So let's move on to a little bit of the Ravens. And then we're going to talk a little bit about Orioles because I know that's what we don't have a ton to talk about, right? Because it's kind of this down period, but people are excited. And we have something to show you as well tonight, which that will be for the end. But hey, guys, Kevin, which we all saw the award ceremony, I think last time we were on Thursday as a group. Lamar Jackson won the MVP. We all know that. Had the great moment with Joe Flacco and Lamar behind stage. Joe wins comeback player of the year. But the big talk actually is that Lamar Jackson was one vote away from being a 2-time unanimous MVP. But one person voted against it and had Lamar finish 3rd, if I'm not mistaken, Kevin. But you had him on. You had Aaron on to Locked On Ravens to talk about it.
Yeah, so Aaron and I talked the day after, or I guess 2 days after. We came out on Saturday here with the show, and he was the guy, would have been the first 2-time unanimous MVP. And I mean, there are only 2 of them total now. It's Tom Brady and Lamar. But his bracket was Josh Allen 1, Dak Prescott 2, and Lamar Jackson 3. And so he's the creator. Advanced stats are everywhere in sports now. So he's the creator of the stat DVOA, which is like it's on a per play basis. You weigh certain things with whether he weighs rushing and passing the same. So he looked at his stats. And so I had him on Locked On Ravens, which is my government name. It's also the show I host. But we talked about, he spent about 40 minutes with me. And the clip that I put out got a lot of attention. And he pretty much said that, look, he looked at these stats and he went back and looked at things like PFF grades and SIS scores. And to Aaron's credit, later in the interview, he did say, he kept saying that, I watched the Miami game. The Miami game was incredible. And so it wasn't
San
all
Francisco
that.
game.
Yes, all that. But so I think we have the clip, but we're going to play it. But Aaron talked about, I just asked him straight up, why wasn't Lamar from a general sense your MVP? And, he had some interesting things to say about it.
Let's roll the clip.
Was Lamar Jackson not your pick for MVP this season?
The irony here, of course, is that I've been driving the Baltimore bandwagon for the entire season as far as Baltimore as a team, and we'll get to that, I think, in a little bit. But when it came to individual stats, starting with DVOA, Lamar Jackson did not perform as well as some other quarterbacks this year. And it's not that it was close, It wasn't like it was Brock Purdy and Josh Allen and Dak Prescott and Lamar Jackson were all in a tight little bind, and they were all close to each other, and it just so happened Jackson was 4th. He was fairly behind. And then I said, well, I'm not perfect. Not everything I do is perfect. Let's go look at some competing advanced stats. So I looked at PFF grades, and I looked at SIS total points, and I looked at EPA, and I looked at win probability, and I looked at ESPN QBR, and every single one of these metrics had Josh Allen and Dak Prescott ahead of Lamar Jackson, And sometimes other players, sometimes Brock Purdy, for example. But each of these metrics includes rushing, So we are looking at rushing and includes interceptions. So they are accounting for the 18 interceptions by Josh Allen, which are bad, right? Duh. But it accounts for all the good from all these players and the bad from these players. And every single one of these metrics put Lamar Jackson behind Josh Allen and Dak Prescott.
So what you're telling me is Aaron is the Brandon Staley of the media world. because that's essentially all he didn't put any personal opinion on it. He didn't watch the games. At least it didn't look like he watched the games. Like and we've talked about it on this channel at length that Dak Prescott didn't deserve an MVP necessarily because when it came time for him to show up in the games that mattered, the games that actually had good teams he was going up against, he didn't show up. Yeah. He beat up on the good teams, no problem. But the bad teams, he would beat on the bad teams, no problem. But the good teams, and then when it came time to the playoffs to actually show up, he didn't. So it's like, and I know the playoffs aren't taken into account, but when it comes to strength of schedule and the amount of teams that Lamar Jackson beat this season that were over 500 and the playoff teams that he had beat during the regular season, like it was a no-brainer. And to 49 other people, it was at least.
Yeah, it really just, it felt like, even I don't want to say it was something where they didn't want Lamar Jackson to have 2 unanimous MVPs and they wanted someone else to go. And I've seen that conspiracy. I get what he's saying. Everyone has the right to their opinion. I don't agree with it at all. I think that, when you put all of this, what he was saying was a lot to like, what's the most statistical player?
But that's why I said he's the Brandon Staley.
Exactly. And it's like, that's not what the award is. It's the most valuable player. And it's who is the biggest value to their team, where if you really take them off, the team is doing the worst. And that, if you took Lamar Jackson off that Ravens team, they are nowhere close to where they were.
I actually asked him that question at the very end. I said, well, because we got on a tangent about Justin Tucker and how valuable he is. And I said, well, do you think that that Lamar Jackson, if you talk about like most valuable player, do you think he is? And he said no. He said, I think he said Mahomes. And then I can't remember who he put it to. It was either Lamar or Josh Allen. I can't remember. But the other thing with MVP for me is the sports are what have you done for me now lately? And you look at what Lamar did for the Ravens, again, regular season award, right? So you look at after the bye, look at the Rams, how I think that was the game of the year for the Ravens, in my opinion, a statement win, leads that drive that, should have been a game-winning drive, wasn't because the Rams tied it up. But then you have the Jaguars game. That was essentially not the beginning of the downfall, but it essentially put the Jaguars on a bit of a nosedive.
Yeah.
49ers game, obviously Christmas night statement. Miami game. I don't think people remember because Miami, look at the final product of how injured they were and kind of how vulnerable they looked in the playoffs. But that was a game for the number 1 seed in the AFC at the time. And so I brought that up with Aaron, and he said, well, Josh Allen also, he had that stretch to kind of lead Buffalo back in the playoffs, which is fair. I mean, Josh Allen did that. But I do think that, my vote would have been for Lamar as well. And I think that, and I've stood on it for a while, that he is the most valuable player in the league. But my thing is, you look at that stretch, it's not like he was playing badly before it. He was also playing well. So I think you look at full season.
Yeah, there was no drop off with Lamar.
No, so I would put it this way, and
stand on business.
So this is just where I put it. I respect everyone's opinion, whether I agree or not. That's just, I respect it. But for me, this is when I hate when you go, the metrics say.
Yeah.
Throw out the fucking metrics at times. And I mean that sincerely. It's when you have the eye test for players. That is my biggest thing. What do players say and what happens when the moments are against the best teams? The eye test showed me that Lamar Jackson was the best quarterback against the best teams.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, where it looks at. You look down his stretch of the final games. You mentioned, Kevin, if we're going to go stats, if we're going to go by some metrics, Lamar Jackson, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception against the Rams, ran for 70 yards. Jacksonville threw for 171 yards, ran for 97. San Francisco, 2 touchdowns, thrown 252 passing yards, 5 touchdowns against Miami. And by the way, the other team in the NFC Championship game, the Detroit Lions early in the season, Lamar Jackson, 4 total touchdowns, almost a perfect passer rating. So the teams that we're bringing up, and yes, Lamar had some tough games against the Browns, one of the best teams in the league. He also had a very dominant game against the Browns in Cleveland.
Yep.
Lamar Jackson, to me, when you're just looking at the metrics in the eye test, did he pass the test? And that's when you look at it and go, damn, if you watch the game, you go, he was the best player on the field that day.
And I think you take it to another level with the fact that, in terms of total passing yards and there was a whole big deal made about that and how he, quote unquote, didn't have enough of either of those. He had 24 passing touchdowns and however many passing yards. But Lamar is one of the only players in the league where he can have 155 passing yards and the Ravens can win by 20 or 30 points.
Is the efficiency.
It is. And look, we can say he had a great defense this year behind him, but the defense is not the only reason why the Ravens were as good as they were in the regular season. We can acknowledge both things. Lamar was awesome this year and was my pick for MVP, and the Ravens defense was also awesome. I don't think we have to tear down one because the other was good.
No, and again, this is like the eye test when we're looking at other good players. Zach, I'll let you finish with the thought. That's why with Patrick Mahomes, despite everything that happened, eye test for me, that's a guy that I know in the biggest moments, that dude's going to play. He's going to show up. It might not show all the time, but eye test. Mahomes watches it. If you watch, I saw something come up from the Super Bowls in the past. And even though they got smacked by the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, defensive players being like, what the hell is Mahomes doing? He's a magician. He's unbelievable. Like, your peers say it all for me. Your opponents say it all.
Yeah.
And so in my mind of looking at that, Lamar Jackson earned that right. And arguably, if Lamar didn't get hurt in the previous years, we might be looking at Lamar getting his third MVP.
Yeah.
Maybe even a fourth.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of talk of that even last year. He was on a trajectory to the MVP last year before he got injured.
So each year that he's finished healthy, actually, besides his rookie year, actually the 2 years he finished healthy, not his rookie year, he won the MVP.
Yeah.
Yep. You put it that way. Zach, final thoughts.
I think you guys put it perfectly. When you look at the eye test, there was one player that stood out far more than any other player, and I think 49 voters got it right.
And that's a simple way to put it. Oh, that's you guys. And hey, guys, if you're new to the Ryan Ripken Show here, we do this every Monday and Thursday. Hit that like and subscribe button. We got a lot going on. We're going to continue to talk football throughout the year, but baseball is coming around, and we are going to dive into a lot of baseball. But before we dive into baseball tonight, we're going to talk on one more subject with the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, because it just feels like that Lamar, the criticism, the drum's only going to beat louder because of what Patrick Mahomes is doing, right? Everyone compares to what Patrick Mahomes is doing, that they tear down, Kevin, that you're saying they tear down other players.
Mm-hmm.
Shannon Sharp, after Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs just won the Super Bowl, was on Nightcap speaking on Lamar Jackson's success in the regular season, but really the failures are starting to speak more volumes for his career in the postseason. So let's play that clip real quickly.
Second MVP, yep. But at what point in time do we start holding him accountable and says that's underachieving? You got the best. You had the best defense. You had the best you had the best rushing attack. You had the best set of receivers that you've had since you've been in Baltimore, and you were one vote. I don't know who that was that took that vote away from you, because he was one vote away, Ocho, from being a 2-time unanimous MVP, and he had the AFC Championship game, and he had the guy. Because the one thing we know about Patrick Mahomes, he's a big game hunter.
Yeah.
Some people, I'm a shore fisherman. I stand on the bank, throw my rod out there. I catch the little fish. I can't catch no tuna. I can't catch no marlin.
Right.
Patrick Mahomes is a big game hunter. He's going hunting for Cape Buffalo. That's what he's going to do. He ain't going pheasant hunting.
Right.
Right now, a lot of these guys doing pheasant hunting and quail hunting and dove hunting and calling it big game. Nah. Patrick Mahomes got pelts on his walls. And I know Peter don't want to hear me talk about that, but y'all at home, y'all get an understanding of what I'm talking about. Now, at some point in time, Ocho, it ain't enough. He's gonna have to catch the MVP and turn him into Super Bowls.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you keep he only 26. Mahomes is only 20. How old is Patrick Mahomes? 27?
29. 29, right?
He's 28.
And that's it.
28.
Imagine what if he played all the way to 45 like Brady?
Nah,
Okay, so I understand. I agree with the fact of there was a lot of hunting terminologies there, which
that was the dumbest analogies I think I've heard in a while.
Well, so like
pheasant hunting,
and you know what? Haven't done that either. I'm not I don't really hunt. That's not my thing. That's not my bag.
Well, he started with fishing and then he went over to hunting.
Yeah. He did. Yeah. It was, and that's where I kind of got lost. But before that, he made a good point about being a big game player. No doubt about it, Patrick Mahomes is a big game player. But again, this narrative of quarterbacks being compared, and I get it, Lamar Jackson, people are going to look at his postseason record. But when you look at every other quarterback, the only one that's had success outside of Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady now being gone has been Joe Burrow. Yeah. Like if you're going to look at it that way. So that's my argument, Zach, to go with this. I think that it's unfair, especially seeing how young Lamar is. Yes. Could he play better? Absolutely. but there are other factors. And also Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback right now in this generation. Yeah. And that's deservedly so.
Yeah. I mean, we're having a conversation. Well, at least Shannon and Ocho are about if Lamar, should he be up with these other players and the players that they are trying to put Lamar in this thing of, and, Josh Allen has 0 MVPs and 0 Super Bowls. Joe Burrow has 0 MVPs and 0 Super Bowls. And yet with them, it's not an issue. Oh no, they're going to get there. Oh no, they'll get it eventually. They're still the top echelon. Lamar Jackson has 2 MVPs, 99 out of 100 first place votes, but it's not enough. People are more upset that he wins MVPs and fails in the postseason than they are at these guys that don't win MVPs and fails. And for some reason, it's those guys are seen as better and that they've done more than Lamar, even though they have nothing to show for it, no awards or anything.
Aaron Rodgers has 4 MVPs. Is that right?
Yeah.
1 Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody bats an eye.
Nope.
Well, they aren't right now. They're saying about how the greatness of them, but when they were losing games, people were getting on them. But like Aaron Rodgers, still a great quarterback, right? Like and I think that's where the part that people get by. And here's just a little stat. We mentioned it last time on the show on Thursday. The last 10 years of Super Bowl winning quarterbacks. We want to go through that list. We got Patrick Mahomes, obviously. You got Nick Foles, who hell of a run by the Eagles. Tom Brady. Peyton Manning, led by that Denver defense, and then Matt Stafford. That's the list right now of quarterbacks that have won in the last 10 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just the reality of it. And that was the end of the dynasty of the Patriots. But in that list, you guys are right. It's Lamar Jackson of the quarterbacks outside of Patrick Mahomes. And I'll give it to Joe Burrow. We don't have to like the Bengals. You got to respect the guy is calm, cool, and collected in the postseason. But Lamar Jackson, accolades-wise, no one since Mahomes came into the league has done what he's done so far.
It's crazy that Lamar has to get 2 MVPs to get put into a conversation with 2 players that have 0 MVPs and no Super Bowls. And I would understand if Burrow had won the Super Bowl. I'd understand if Allen had won a Super Bowl where, MVPs for a Super Bowl, because I agree. Super Bowl is way more valuable to an MVP, and I bet you Lamar feels the exact same way. But it's just crazy that Lamar Jackson, after he wins his 2nd MVP, the headlines are, is it time that we should finally start putting Lamar Jackson in the category with Mahomes, Allen, and Burrow? And it's like, I think you should be seeing if other players are on the same level as Lamar, because he's got 2 first-team All-Pros and 2 MVPs. So, in the postseason, it's not been there. And he's going to be the first to say it. And he has come up short. But it's ridiculous that this media has made it, now that he has 2 MVPs, we can mention him with these guys. And it's like, he should have the whole time.
And it goes with, there was a clip from Joy Taylor about, it was essentially, she was complimenting Lamar. She was doing a bunch and she was saying Lamar's year was incredible. He has 2 MVPs and saying he solidified for the Hall of Fame with the 2 MVPs. But in this, she said, now we mentioned Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and Josh Allen. We have to mention Lamar Jackson. And admittedly, I haven't watched the clip in full, so I don't want to, put words or tone in Joy's mouth or anything. But again, I agree with Zach where Joe Burrow and Josh Allen. Joe's been in the Super Bowl, obviously didn't win it, but Josh Allen has not been there. He has not won an MVP. If you talk about playoff record and playoff stats, I mean, sure, we can admit that Lamar hasn't lived up to those moments. And I think that's okay to admit. Obviously.
Some of that's coaching. We didn't see any rushing in the AFC Championship game.
Exactly.
But that's okay also, by the way, to go like, you know what, he didn't play well. Okay. And that's fine. It's the same thing. Even when people talk about Josh Allen, him not winning MVPs for me. So Josh Allen's still one of the best quarterbacks. And that's cool. I think that's the part. Just the conversation just needs to be, hey, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, what they're doing is ridiculous. And whether or not that's because the other guys need to elevate their game or whatever it may be, no other team is really breaking through the Chiefs minus Joe Burrow once and Tom Brady. Other than that, the list is Patrick Mahomes. That's it in the AFC. So great quarterbacks, great talented players. And I think that needs to be more of the discussion. But as Lamar gets to his 30s and he hasn't been to a Super Bowl and there is more struggles, then you can have more of a conversation, especially if other players and teams get to that place where they're trying to go. But until then, I don't think it's fair to say that until Buffalo goes, until I don't even know, until the Chargers go, until another team goes. We got to sit back and relax and just enjoy, man. These quarterbacks are good.
I'd be very curious if Peyton Manning, because obviously that's been the comparison people have made. I'd be very curious if Peyton Manning, his career was brought up to now in the social media age, and just kind of what the discourse would be around Peyton. And he got flack back then too. Like, I'm not saying he didn't, but I'm just very curious of what it would have been, because I think with everything that's going on with Lamar and the lack of playoff success, this is not the first time we've seen a great quarterback not win a Super Bowl and, have 3 rings by the time he's 28, right? Obviously with Brady and Mahomes, we've been very spoiled. And of course, Patriots fans and Chiefs fan has, but I think because we've seen it essentially back to back, it's all of a sudden, oh, well, that now has to be the norm for everybody, or else you're not good and you can't win in the playoffs. And I think that's not fair when you have 2 greats like that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Lamar. Look, we have to admit Mahomes is the best in the league, right? 100%.
There's no question.
But to all of a sudden discount everything Lamar's done just because Mahomes has been that good in his career just doesn't sit right with me.
Yep. There's a lot of really good players. Mahomes has the best start to his career that any quarterback has in the history of the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, even great players are going to look like they have more flaws than they do when you compare them to one of the greatest players to ever do it.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at a guy like Mahomes, like we're saying, he just goes out there, and we haven't, besides Brady, really seen something like this. So, we talk about it all the time with the guys like Baker Mayfield and stuff. It has had a lasting effect. If guys aren't winning Super Bowls in their first 5 years, it's like, okay, can we even have this guy? And then, like we said, what you just pointed out, there are like 5 guys in the league who have started and won a Super Bowl.
Right.
And we act like you need to every year.
And that goes back to even, Brad, what you were talking about last show with how you build a roster around a quarterback. That's kind of what everybody feels they have to do now, is get a star quarterback on a rookie deal, pick him in the first round, have that 5th-year option. There's your initial window.
Yep.
There's your 5 years. Build the best team you can around them, and that's how you do it. We've seen a lot of teams do it nowadays, and I think that's kind of the model everyone's looking for. And if you don't do that, it leaves a huge blemish on that quarterback career, which I don't think is fair to them, because look, sometimes it just doesn't work out that way.
Yeah, and it's essentially what it is. Again, if we were to look at it, actually, other teams, if you're not Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes right now, everyone looks down upon you. And Lamar Jackson's in that conversation where they're like, well, Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes could go down as the 2 best quarterbacks that ever play the position, but there are some damn good ones, and we still have a good belief that Lamar Jackson is going to be there. And for a few things, Steven, you're right. Hopefully 2024 is the year for Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens. We are hoping that's the case. And Kyle Shannon on the last side, we're going to wrap this up because we need to talk about some baseball. But what's funny? The Chiefs have a minus differential in the first 3 quarters. They're plus 30, I think, in the fourth quarter, and 2 of those are against the San Francisco 49ers and Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah.
Woof. Tough for Shanahan, and two of those losses being in overtime.
Yeah.
Was it you that put it up on Twitter? Last 3 Super Bowl appearances by the 49ers. It's just been tough go.
Yeah, they've lost to the Chiefs and the Ravens. So,
and those are some really tough losses.
I mean, when you're facing 2 of the greatest quarterbacks to ever step foot on earth.
They were all blown leads too, by the way.
Yep.
No, it wasn't. They didn't have a lead against the Ravens.
No, that's right. You're right.
Yeah.
Right, sorry.
Not against the Ravens, but against the Chiefs.
All of Shanahan's Super Bowls that he's
that's
lost
what it
have
was.
been
The Falcons
because you
one.
had the Falcons one. Yeah.
That is correct. Well, hey, if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show Mondays and Thursdays. Guys, let's pivot to baseball because I love football season. I'm sad it's over. I am very sad it's over. But it's a good time also to segue into baseball season and to talk about our sponsors, Adams Jeep of Maryland, which is behind Zach, by the way. We're going to ride that Jeep for a second.
Damn it.
There it is.
I did it wrong. I knew the second I went for it.
There it is, riding that Jeep for a minute. So that's pretty impressive right there. You're a good kid. Adam, hey there. Oh, we're trying to don't look behind me.
Don't pay attention to the
technical
man to behind the screen.
Perfect.
Behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes, it's like nothing ever happened. Heyo, Adams Jeep of Maryland, though, it's a proud sponsor of us. We're gonna have a lot more going on with them. If you need anything done with your car, service parts, you want a Jeep, those things are badass. Check out Adams Jeep. We're gonna have more information with them.
And hey, if just for our national viewers, you can actually order a Jeep from Adams Jeep, correct?
Yes, you can.
So, we have the contact information, or you can just go to Adams Jeep, I guess.
AdamsJeepMaryland.com. We're gonna have videos up there with all the information on there. By the way, I'm talking about like you want good customer service, the best.
You want an Orioles Jeep, you can order yourself one, have it shipped out to you because That Orioles Jeep was badass.
It's awesome, and it's still there. We're going to see more photos of that, by the way. Hey, guys, we got some great people that were involved with that. Let's shout out also. So we got the Adams Jeep in Maryland. We got the Iron Rooster, which, by the way, I feel like every time we go there, I try to say I need to, like, diet after the Super Bowl.
Yes.
And then we get every roost tart that they've made possible and imaginable. Yeah. Iron Rooster, maybe, guys, maybe we get an event and maybe we talk a little baseball with them. Maybe does that sound all right?
I think we should do that.
I think we can do that. I think we can talk about stuff with the Iron Rooster, talk a little baseball, as it's right around the corner. And we're going to spring training. We had Cedric Mullins on Saturday to talk about a lot of things, actually, by the way. We had Nick Moore, Ravens long snapper, who actually knows Cedric as well. They grew up and played together baseball in high school. And Cedric, though, we have the full interview up if you want to watch it on the YouTube channel. Way more coming from that. But the one clip we want to talk about, because it's going into spring training, is the question behind Jackson Holliday, right? That's the name. Is he going to break camp? Well, Cedric was extremely complimentary of Jackson Holliday's game, and he thinks his time in Baltimore is coming very soon and wouldn't be surprised if he does break with the team. Let's hear what Cedric thinks of Jackson Holliday.
Kid's the real deal. I mean, you got to see him coming to spring training last year. I thought his maturity level was through the roof. Watching him.
It's like you could tell he's been around baseball, like, clearly for all his life. It's I was rehabbing in AA, so I got to play with him for a few games, and I got to witness just how much in tune with the game he is. It's like, so watching him play short, he's got that internal clock already. Like, just one of those things where, and I say internal clock as in balls hit, he can tell how hard it is and how long he has to get the ball in his glove, out of his glove to first base to make sure he gets the out on basically every play. And with the athleticism that he has, which I feel like he has more athleticism to build off of, because I did some speed work with him, and I was like, he's still young, like he's still growing into his body, and you can kind of tell that. But again, still super athletic with a lot of potential. So it's exciting.
So you know what I loved about it with Cedric talking about it, and you guys know how I felt about Jackson's potential. You guys have seen it. We all feel the same. But the thing that I want people to notice on was Cedric was talking about the game slowing down for him, the maturity level to be able to understand and assess plays at a fast level, but without speeding yourself up in the game. So people that don't understand that, when you're younger, or sometimes as you keep moving up, sometimes you have that moment of like, oh shit, like I got to adjust because things are happening faster than I'm ready to handle it. Jackson's processing it, but able to keep himself under control and make all the plays. Now he's going to grow into his body. It's going to take time, but Cedric loves what he saw with Jackson, Zach. And I think Oriole fans, Cedric's been around a lot of great players, and there's a lot of great ones on the Orioles. That's high praise from one of the best guys and one of the leaders on the team.
Yeah, extremely high praise. And earlier in the interview, Cedric said that he would not be surprised at all if Holliday made the team out of camp. And I think that is kind of the expectation, especially with fans, is that Jackson Holliday is going to probably be the starting second baseman come opening day. I think Gunnar stays at short for the time being. But, him not being there for opening day would almost be a disappointment to a lot of fans. And I think it is something where going into it, it's not every day that you say this 19, 20-year-old is it's his job to beat for the second base job. And it is. I think going into it, if he proves that he is what they think he is, he's going to be playing on opening day.
You know what? I'm still pumping the brakes on that. I know I'm still pumping the brakes on that. I think by every reason he can break with the opening day roster. It's not me being, oh, come on, Ryan, you're just killing the vibe. I get it. It's not that.
I just think if he plays well, and I just see it hard for them to find a reason.
So that's the thing, of playing well. I think he can play well, but I think he has to be almost damn near perfect, blow the doors off in spring training where they're like, we can't keep you down. Like, not that for this instant, but if they have a reason or have an example to not rush him, they're going to do that. I know that people are going to say, well, wait a minute, he's ready. He very well may be. But if they have some guys and they feel like they can give him a little bit more time, they will. But if Jackson goes down there and hits 7 bombs and is in 500 or whatever it is, they'll be like, the dude's ready. But if he has a pedestrian spring training,
if he has pedestrian, I think there's, especially now you have guys like Soto and Maton that have come in, other lefty bats that play second base.
And you still have Arias.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm thinking of more who I would think, because I kind of think Arias, he should be good on the team, but I think those three, Soto, Maton, and Holliday, are kind of competing for that lefty infielder second base.
But here's the other thing with Jackson Holliday. You're calling him up. You're not having him sit the majority of the games either. So people have to keep that in mind. So if Jackson's ready, he's going to be your everyday player. And the Orioles didn't do that a lot last year, right? Even in the beginning, Gunnar played a ton of games, but they rotated. But Gunnar was fixated in.
Well, so hold on. Like, is it safe to say that Jackson has had a better minor league career than a Gunnar Henderson? Or you don't think so?
I think Jackson Holliday's year was just as impressive as anything else. Gunnar Henderson's rise from raw power and ability, I don't know if that's going to Gunnar Henderson's reminded me of Juan Soto when he just hit everything and kept moving. Jackson's is impressive, but the age factor for me is what I'm looking at. And for Gunnar, they made Gunnar go back to AAA and kind of set there. Like Jackson didn't, to me, they've given him a little bit of games there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my only concern. I should say that. Jackson's rise was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And that was more impressive for his age than Gunnar. But Gunnar's peak year that showed him he was the number one overall prospect, that raw power and his ability, that to me was Juan Soto-esque when I saw Soto. And for those that didn't know, Soto went from low A to the big leagues that year. And Soto is one of the best hitters in the game.
Well, I think it does seem like, I think a lot of Orioles fans are saying, well, there's no way Jackson doesn't break with the team out of space. I feel like that's the expectation right now. But I think that on the other flip side of that, it's like, well, I feel like some of the fan base's reaction will be if he gets sent down, well, he's going to be down there till June or down there till. But I think, and I see a comment, I lost the StreamYard for a second, but I see a comment where it's like, he'll start down, we'll get caught up within a month. If he goes, because how many at-bats did he have at AAA? What was it?
Not many.
50, if I'm not mistaken. 51, something like that. If he goes and in another 100 at bats, hits 330, 375, whatever it is, he'll get called back up. It's just a matter of getting him experience and getting him reps down there at that level. So I don't think it's going to be a thing where if he has a perfect spring training or near perfect, he'll probably stay.
He had 91 plate appearances in AAA, 75 at bats, hit 267. And like I said, his pure hitting was probably better than Gunnar's. And again, at his age, it was ridiculous because no one does what he does at his age. But that's the part of it. Not a lot of reps there. And I'm actually looking at the comparison to Gunnar Henderson here, where Gunnar was that 1 year, and Gunnar had the COVID year too, by the way. So he had time to kind of have to wait. But Gunnar in the minors, as I'm pulling this up here, and I'm here it is. Gunnar, when he was in Norfolk in 2022, he had 295 plate appearances. Okay. And in 2021, when he got up to AA, and that was where he ended, he started 2022 in AA the next year. And in 2021, he finished in AA. So at the AAA level, Gunnar Henderson got 250 at bats, 295 plate appearances. So that's the only holding pattern I have for that. Jackson Holliday, for his career in the minor leagues, has 671 plate appearances, 541 at bats in the minor leagues. And I think he's a MLB ready guy that is poised. But do you rush a guy when you have the luxury to wait it out a little bit? His time's coming. He's going to be a star. He's going to be up there. I just don't know, Birdland, if it's going to be right in the beginning. If I'm wrong, I'd be happy about it. Great. Dude's a stud. I think you guys got my point. I'm not saying here Jackson Holliday.
I think it's very similar to the way I look at it. Is very similar to Grayson Rodriguez last year. It was kind of seen as, okay, Grayson should make the team coming out of camp. Obviously, Grayson, a little bit different. He had spent a lot more time in the minors, had looked like he was coming up the year prior, but then got hurt. And Grayson couldn't really put it all together in spring training. They sent him down to start the year, and then immediately what was it, game 4, game 5, Kyle Bradish takes the ground ball off the foot, and now Grayson Rodriguez is back up. So we don't know how this is going to play out. There's so many different ways that it could play out. Who knows? Maybe he does start down in AAA to start the year, and then unfortunately something happens and they have to bring him up after a week or two. So, there's a lot of opportunity to go around.
Yeah, and so I will say this, and then we'll move on. Rolling with Rock, I see this. Burns for 1 year also makes me think they're going to put their best players forward no matter who they are, including Jackson. I agree. They're going to put who they think is ready, but that's the part of it is Jackson being a young player. He's had success at every single level. And one of the things that teams want to see is when you have to deal with failure. And that's a big part of it. Mm-hmm. And at the major league level, that's the last part of failure. Like Grayson Rodriguez didn't have any failure until he got to the big leagues. Cedric Mullins, when he got up there, first struggle in the big leagues. Gunnar Henderson struggled a little bit in the minor leagues and struggled in the big leagues. That's a factor that's going to go into it, and you're going to have to be okay with that wave. I want Jackson Holliday to come up, and he never goes back down. That's my ultimate hope. Should we talk a little bit about rotation, and then we have a little special thing, and then we get out of here? What do we think? Huh?
Yeah, I think, it's not every day we get to actually talk about this, or it hasn't in a while as Oriole fans. So there was a question brought up by, let me make sure I get the right one, MLB Network, and it was talking about which one of these AL rotations are you taking. And I think it is important to first start out with how cool it is that the Orioles are actually in this conversation, because for years it was, well, there's great rotations, there's good rotations, there's bad rotations, and then there's the Orioles. And it's like each year through the year, the previous tanking years, it got better and better. And then last year we saw the big jump by Kyle Bradish. We saw the big second half by Grayson Rodriguez. We saw John Means come back and look great. Dean Kramer looked great in the second half. And then you go out and get a Corbin Burns. I'll be honest, obviously a little bias here. It's hard for me to take another one of these, maybe the Astros, but it's hard for me to take another one of these teams over the Orioles right now.
I don't know. The Yankees, I got a good rotation there.
I don't trust Rodon. I just can't trust Rodon right now.
I'm with Brad, though. I think the Yankees rotation is going to bounce back, and Rodon is the X factor for the team. I still like the Orioles rotation healthy the most. I think it's nasty, but Rodon's a guy that's gone down early.
Yep.
When he's pitched well, he's been a top pitcher, especially he will in the American League.
I just think it's one of those, if he's great when he's on the field, but before the 1 year where he pitched 180 plus innings with the Giants, I think he's averaging between 50 and 70 innings pitched a year because he can't stay healthy. And especially last year, he and Yankee fans did not get along. They were going at each other while he was walking off the dugout. He was not reacting well to the Yankee New York boos and cheers. And I just can't, Cortez, we saw struggle last year. Stroman wasn't the greatest in Chicago down the stretch. And Garrett Cole, obviously is the best pitcher on this
Sure.
page. I think that's without a doubt. It's just after Garrett Cole, I think there's a lot of could be incredible for the Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to health at the end of the day. Like whoever's rotation stays the healthiest is probably who's going to be the best at the end of the season. But I mean, I'm still I don't know. I like how deep this Orioles rotation just looks, though. You see it on the screen, and having Kramer as your 5 to me is just. I mean, and having Means as your 4. Honestly, it's just like I love that.
That's if Means has a history of injuries too. So like I think that I don't think that the Orioles rotation is bulletproof yet. I think there's some things that need to be proven there as well.
Sure. I agree with that. And I think again, health is a big part of it. Seattle, though, by the way, I think they always go under the radar. That Castillo Kirby,
duo, that's probably maybe the best one too.
It's really good, and because it's out in Seattle and they might not get enough attention on the names, they might not be as household names like a Burns, like a Cole, like a Verlander, Gosman. Really, really good staff out there. And then for the Astros, hey, Verlander he's just finding the fountain of youth, dude. Like he's just he's very, very good. And Mitchell, I see you saying I don't follow baseball super closely. The Texas rotation not great. They're dealing with a lot of injuries. Yeah. And Jordan Montgomery isn't back, and Jacob deGrom is not, excuse me, healthy to start the season. So they're going to take a step back at the moment right now. But that's why these list of rotations are very good. And the Blue Jays they were one of the best starting pitching rotations last year, numbers wise.
Yeah.
But as we know, they just didn't put it all together. And it'll be fun, man. I can't wait to dive into stuff so much more. But I kind of want to dive into some stuff right now. Are we cool with that?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
So we go into a little
Announcement.
Yeah, so a little bit of announcement here. That's you, Kevin. Ryan Ripken Show, Mondays and Thursdays. But we got this really cool thing behind us that we've been waiting to present to the group. And we're going to have this going throughout the entire baseball season and for other sports, by the way. And we're going to give the first try tonight to show you how this kind of looks. So bear with us. It might take a second. And let me see if I can get up here and figure out what the heck I'm doing here. So one moment, Zach will entertain you.
Yeah, I was going to say, put this on me. I want to point out to everyone, getting this thing, you would think getting it up the steps was going to be the toughest part. We all thought that was going to be the toughest part. This thing did not fit in an elevator. And it took me and Brad, first off, many people walked by. No one offered to help, as me and Brad are struggling trying to get this 85-inch screen into the studio. So
I feel what it reminds me. I almost envision you and Brad. You know that show where you gotta be a shape to go through the wall. I feel like you're just like Twister almost, right?
Legitimately
contorting your body that way.
That's actually a beautiful. Yeah, no, that's exactly what was happening because we were sitting there, and at one point, I had to ride in the elevator up with the thing, and not necessarily because that's I was just stuck on the other half. It was
in the corner. I mean, and that took up the majority of the elevator.
Oh, the entire elevator. Yeah, it didn't fit vertical. It didn't fit horizontal. We had to get it the perfect way for it to work. And
setting up the stand was an adventure, at least when we came in.
Everything was.
Can you guys hear me, by the way?
Yeah,
we can hear.
Should we try it? Yeah, let's try to turn it around.
Yeah, let's get it.
Do.
All right, drum roll.
Wait, you can hit a drum roll. We can literally.
All right, well, it's
what
ruined
do you
now.
want me to do? All right, let's get this thing pumping. So we got this giant new screen here, by the way, and you heard how hard it was to put it in studio. But guess what? We are going to break down plays a lot more than you ever could have imagined, even things that don't matter at all. So let's actually start with this. This is the fun part of it. It could have so much more, but I want to talk about Gunnar Henderson because, quite frankly, why not talk about Gunnar Henderson? We talked about how great he is. Is this better right there? Yeah, boom. We're working on it, guys. All right, so first off, this is when I knew that Gunnar was back to the example of this, by the way. Let's start over. The example of this is where Gunnar really turned it on. Gunnar's strength really comes from the opposite field. That's where his bread and butter is. And early in the season, I'm going to show some examples where Gunnar not necessarily was feeling himself. But as you'll see the progression of these videos, Gunnar got better and better, and ultimately is a big reason why he became one of the best players in the American League and Major League Baseball. And then on top of it, he also is proving why he will be an MVP candidate for this season. Can I back up a little bit for a second, Brad, so we can get this? All right. This first video here, by the way, this is Gunnar, a pitch that he likes to drive. And I know it's 5-0 game, but nobody on, 2 outs. And this is early in the season, by the way. So if you watch this, we're going to freeze it for a second. Whammy. That's a very good pitch to hit, and that's Gunnar's sweet spot. And actually, you might think secondly when we talk about it more, but that's number 1. Let's go to number 2 here. Do. It takes me a second. And this is why we're working out these issues here. So, and it's fun. This is one specifically that had me. I remember watching this game as a day game in Detroit early in the season. And Gunnar, this is a tough pitch. It's a pitcher's pitch. But again, the reason why, and you'll see it down the stretch, Gunnar takes that pitch, right? And if we rewind it one more time, Gunnar Henderson, right there, man, and he's going to sit there, and he's probably going to go, man, that kind of felt like it was a little bit further off the plate, right? But to be honest, Gunnar's momentum for me, he kind of felt like he was pulling off the baseball a little bit, and that's his strength, okay? So when Gunnar is able to be on, that's where hitters or pitchers don't know how to deal with him. So you see those 2 examples, right? This is where the moment for Gunnar Henderson changed for the season. So you saw those 2 pitches. Those pitches are strikes. Those are pitchers' pitches for the most part. At least one of them is. The game in Milwaukee is the one I'm specifically talking about. And let's pull this one up here. All right. Milwaukee Brewers, they're down 1 run, 2 outs in the 8th inning. And Gunnar Henderson comes up with the biggest swing of the game. And after this is really where Gunnar started to turn it on. All right, so you can back it up for a second, Brad. Ready? So right here, I'm going to freeze it. That pitch right there, if we're going to look at this, that's a good 6 inches off the plate. That's 6, 8 inches off the plate. But you saw before that Gunnar's taking those pitches away. And that's somewhat of a problem, right? But the reason why Gunnar is so explosive on this is because he does this. That's a 93-mile-an-hour pitch off the plate, and only maybe 10 players in major leagues can hit the ball to the opposite field like he can. And that was a monumental part of the game. Again, if you want to look at the context of the game, 3-2, no outs, first pitch swinging, and sometimes when you're a little bit hesitant, that's why I was bringing up the point of Gunnar taking pitches right here, is because when you're not feeling yourself, you're not going to be as aggressive. When you're feeling good and you're feeling frisky, you let it eat, and you let it eat early and often. Then what's Gunnar do? He lets it eat, and it doesn't matter if the pitch is off the plate, because when you're that talented, you let your skills take over. Gunnar Henderson's skills take over. You think that that's impressive? He faced the Mets, and this one to me, I don't know how the hell he hit this ball. Okay? Mets, pitch away, freeze it. Oh, we didn't freeze it in time. Ready, freeze. Do you understand how ridiculous this is? That pitch is even in the other batter's box. But for Gunnar Henderson, when you're able to stay on the ball long enough, every pitcher is going to curse you out with every word in the book when you do shit like this. And for Gunnar Henderson, this is the part later in the season where he just became so unstoppable as a hitter, because you couldn't beat him in, and then you definitely couldn't beat him away. And again, I'm prefacing, that's a changeup away. That's a pitcher's pitch, 0-2 count, and Gunnar Henderson sticks his ass out, hey, how you doing, and base hit. And the pitcher's probably sitting there going, what the hell? How do I get you out? How do I get you out?
And then he just turns it into a double.
Yeah.
Yep, and that's what Gunnar Henderson can do. We'll do one more here, and we'll stop it. This one, to me, is also impressive. You're facing one of the best pitchers in the game. You saw him on that list, Kevin Gausman, by the way. How about this? 1-0 pitch. Gunnar not flinching at all. Fastball down and away. And see at this location right here. That's a 2-seamer. Gausman's ball runs. And it runs like a you-know-what. So when it goes down there, you got to go with it. And what's Gunnar do? He shoots that puppy the other way. And that ball is torched. And that's what I try to tell people why this kid is so special, is because some hitters really don't like going the other way.
Mm-hmm.
Gunnar Henderson, it's not a maybe I'll hit a couple balls the other way. It's I'm going to absolutely torch balls the other way. And that's something that you can't teach to a lot of players. A lot of people like to hit the ball pull side, or if they're, right center, left center, depending on if you're righty or lefty. Gunnar Henderson is unstoppable when he can do things like this. And this is one of the best pitchers in the game. Cy Young candidate, Kevin Gausman. This is what's going to make him special. Jackson Holliday has that in him too, by the way. Jackson will hit the ball wherever you want. But if you see the authority that Gunnar is driving the baseball, and if you look at how much he's staying on the baseball, if he does this again this year, Gunnar Henderson's going to hit towards 300, and Gunnar Henderson's probably going to be the MVP of the league. That is my opinion. He is that dynamic. And the fun thing is, and I appreciate you guys sticking with me on this, we have so much more of these videos to come, by the way. And the last one, just for fun, I'll pull it up. And then we're getting out of here. Again, another guy, this is Kirby, one of the best pitchers in the league for the Seattle Mariners. Fastball away, 98 miles an hour, by the way. Again, what do you want to do? Perfect pitch. Perfect pitch. But guess what? Gunnar can be a perfect hitter. Nothing you can do about that. Gunnar has another extra base hit. And this is what just makes him so special, is that no pitcher, even when they do their strength against your strength, Gunnar is proving that he can win it more times than not. And then he's hitting with, what was it, the sprinklers act?
Yeah.
So we're going to get better at this. We have the lavalier on. I'm trying to look at my computer. There's so much more that needs to go on to it. But this is why Gunnar Henderson is going to be a force to reckon with. And this is why I still think, as much as I love Jackson Holliday, and I'm excited to see what he can do, this guy right here, Jackson Holliday, or this guy right here, Gunnar Henderson, this guy is going to be the next great. He's going to be in Baltimore for a while, and I will not be surprised if he has another. He will be the next person that has a statue here outside of Camden Yards. All right.
I love that.
You like that? Print that, pin that. That's all we got for
Put
the
it on a
show.
shirt.
Boom.
We got that. All right, guys. I appreciate everything. I'm going to hit this. We'll move the camera around. We're getting back.
Oh, I'm entertaining again. Okay. Hey, so thank you all for watching that. That was pretty fun.
What was your favorite Super Bowl commercial? What was the one that
I didn't honestly pay much attention to Super Bowl commercials this year.
you got up during the commercials and
I just feel like I was talking to people, and then like there were a few, like obviously we mentioned a lot of them, like the Dunkin' Donuts, the Paramount, like there were some big ones that everyone like said about, but
there was the one the birds one with the Ravens.
that one
and
was
the Eagles.
weird. That one was weird.
like flying
Yeah.
away.
I didn't like that. Like it was funny,
the CGI
but I did
stuff.
not like that at all.
All right. So we appreciate you. We're going to get way better with doing this, but we wanted to show you what we have in store for the season. And that's just for talking about baseball for a little bit of an extent. We're going to talk about so much more. And I'm even going to have more tutorials, details on things that I've even noticed, but even other sports wise, we have some football friends. Can you imagine what we do with that, Brad, in this economy back
yeah.
then?
This economy.
Football.
Cannot wait.
So it's going to be fun. And then Zach's even going to go up there and
Yes.
Lord knows what happens when Zach gets up.
Yeah. Whenever there's going to be a funny baseball brawl, I'll be breaking it down up there. Don't
For
you
sure.
worry.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, hey, guys, let's get out of here now. Guys, we appreciate you tuning in. It's the Ryan Ripken Show. We do it every Monday and Thursday. We can't wait for this baseball season. I have so much content. You have no idea, but we are not going to shy away from the other sports. Obviously, football is going to be around. We're going to have March Madness and college basketball, which I know we haven't talked about, but that is one of the most chaotic times. It is going to be a perfect time for sports, and especially if you're a Baltimore sports fan, it is going to be electrifying. All right. That is it. We will be back. Rocco will be back. He hasn't been fired.
No, he's just busy. He's just busy.
He's working.
We
on it.
should fire him for
Just
drama.
like fucking prank
I don't
him.
know if you're the one to make that.
We just prank him.
Rocco,
Be like, you're
come
fired.
into my office. We're
Yeah,
gonna have to
yeah,
talk.
yeah.
You should do the Jamal Adams video where like he.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I know you say like he
Yeah, the key
pulls-
card.
Yeah.
The key
Yeah, they
card
cut me
stops.
already. Year 2, they cut me already.
Just close the door. Don't let him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, maybe we'll talk more about college basketball in the future as well. I saw the tournament pool, but Rocco will be back. We will be back on Monday, or gosh, today's Monday. We'll be back on Thursday. My brain's everywhere, but guys, we appreciate you. Hit that like and subscribe button. We have a Discord channel if you want to chat with us outside of here, but we also are on podcast form, Apple, Spotify. We're working on other ones. So check us out there. Have any questions, you let us know. You can find us at Own the Chaos at Kevin Ostriker 34, right?
That's right.
Zach
Well,
Bollinger,
Chaos,
18.
Striker, but yes.
Yep. Boom.
What did I say?
Kevin, Chaos Striker 34.
What? I'm on the chaos.
Oh,
No,
okay,
yeah.
but he's Chaos Striker.
Yes.
Oh,
34.
chaos. Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I'm simple. I'm just at Ryan Ripken. We appreciate every you. Oh, gosh. Brain is scrambled. We appreciate every one of you. And as always, have a day, have a night, and we will see you next time for another edition of the Ryan Ripken Show.
Gunnar Henderson for head coach of the Ravens.
What?